Hi, this is Rew Payne, and I am going to be teaching you how to edit your photos. It's the fourth in a series of photographing your SCA art. So we've made the light box, we've learned how to use the light box, we've photographed a bunch of items, and now we're going to edit them. And this is what we call edit and post. And this is without Photoshop. This is just using your phone's editing tools, which I found sometimes are just as powerful. So we're just going to pick one here. And I don't know why it's not showing stuff. Oh. So sometimes your phone just wants to do all sorts of fun stuff. And there we go. So I have this great little picture here we've taken, and I really want to see it like that, but that's how it was taken. So what you're going to want to do is there's a little button here. It says edit right here at the very top. We're going to click that, and then we're going to hit crop, and crop is totally your friend. You can use 2 fingers, or you can grab a corner. So I can grab a corner there and grab a corner here, and then use 2 fingers and just move that to where I want it and get it very, very centered. And then I hit, and then I go to something else. So
Were there any rules of thumb on having things centered versus offset versus the rule of thirds or anything like that?
There are. I found for Objects D art, you're trying to showcase that art bit. So you want it as clear and centered and taking up as much space in that picture as possible, like that. So now you can really see, oh wow, that's really clear. That's wonderful. Whoops, lost my pictures. Whereas I will go to one of these other pictures of that same object. So as you see, we've taken a lot of it. Here we go. And we want to zoom in on this one. So we're going to click edit, crop. But this is one where we do want that little bit of a background. We want it, this might be, I'm putting a bunch of things on like Etsy, and I want the close up, but I also want like a design piece. So that's where you're going to use the rule of thirds, where it's only going to take up 1/3. So this is, or 2/3. So we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. That one's blank. I'm also going to do it this way, where I have 1/3 blank and there. That's why, it's a little offset. Or I can go over here, go it that way, but that has that little bit there. So we want to remove that. And then we can also just make it, zoom it just a hair. And I don't know if you can see there's little guidelines when you start zooming. And you can really use that to get that really good. And then hit you're done. And then there's that beautiful look. Oops. Of course, I'm trying to look.
Does editing become easier when you're trying to work around a tablet with a camera?
Yes. It is. Trying to do something that I haven't seen it do.
We had to add expert level skills to our teacher to make it a little more challenging for her.
Yeah. So I've now got into a thing I've never seen. The phone just updated recently, so you can now do things like you can now see what it was taken on. This is all the meta, where it was taken, the ISO, all that other fun stuff. And now I have to figure out how to get back out of that. There we go. To turn with the phone. So when I go back to edit, I have this gorgeous picture, but the lighting is still, even though I did it in a light box, the lighting is still a little off. So I'm just hitting that, making that a little bit darker. I'm going to click this and warm it or cool it. So there's my little bit of warmth. Go down. Now you literally just go down the line. This is our brightness. This is shadows. So I can add a little bit of shadow down there to the bottom. There's our contrast. You never really want to go one extreme or the other. especially with contrast. Just want to move it a touch. Here's our brightness. Now brightness is different than your exposure, because that's just bringing your highlights. You can see right there, watch your eye right there. And that's your difference on your brightness. Here we have black point. Black point's really nice if you've had something that you've used a lot of bright or a lot of exposure with, but you want those darker tones again, those luscious dark tones. So see here, we've lost all of them. We'll bring those right back in. And it just brings those. Then with your saturation, this is how much color you have in something. You really, it's easy to want to like go, oh, I really want that. And then you realize later that, oh, maybe that's gonna show up as overly false color. So you really don't want to bring that up higher than like a 5 to 15. I usually just bring it up about 7 or so. Sometimes just kick it to maybe an 8 if it's really a bright one. I mean, you can also go reverse if your object is too colorful. You want more of a muted colors because you want to highlight maybe the metal, not the board. On this one, like the gorgeous green and gold beads, you can just dunk that saturation. Then you go to the next one, which is vibrance, and you're like, what's the difference between saturation and vibrance? It's not bringing the color, it's making the color pop. So that's where I'm gonna bring that up to like a 13, and you see the color, well, I can see it there on the screen, but the color kind of pops. Then here this is a metal tone, so I want it more warm versus cold. If you look at some people's photographs and they're more cold. So there you go. So a metal, usually you want it to be warm. If it was silver, so you see the owl on there is silver. If I really wanted to highlight that owl and not the other one, I could make that more cold. Or you can kind of leave it in the middle a little bit there, and it helps with both. Then you have tint. Tint is interesting if you want to have a warmth, but you also want it to be just slightly. If you notice in the background, it goes from a purple tone all the way to a green tone. You want to just bring that just 1 or 2 notches either way fun to play with that. So I got like a greener gold or a rosier gold, depending on how far I go. Sharpness, you don't want to bring it all the way to sharp because then it looks fake, that uncanny valley. But just bringing it, bringing it up just a notch, just to get those sharp edges, like where you get that needle point, you can really see that now. And then definition brings in the sharpness around the edges. But again, if you go like that and you zoom in, you'll see, let's zoom that in a little bit so you can see the definition. So we have no definition, it's kind of slightly fuzzy. Pull that definition, you really start to see like the points in the metal here. And wow, you know, you might want that. And then the noise reduction, I always do a little bit of noise reduction, about 10 to 12, 10 to 15% there. And that just, it refuzzes things down, but in a more natural pixelated way, because when you get so far in, we'll take that away. I don't know if you notice it, but it's just one of those things I noticed that just adding just a little bit of there removes that little zigzag that the definition has now caused. So you're kind of correcting the wonderful, but now you get more sharp tones, but it's not so fake looking. And then the very last thing, I do this on every single photo I ever take, is add a vignette. And I don't add very much. You can either go white or you can go dark, but I just add just a hair. And if you can see, a lot of times you don't even notice it. It's just a hair, but it brings your focus of your eye to whatever you're looking at in the center of that photograph. And you can also go the opposite way too, just a hair. And again, that'll bring your eyes when you go to the white, it brings your eyes out. When you go just a little bit dark, it brings your eyes in. And then there's wonderful filters. We talked about this in one of the other in pre-production. But again, you can hit these filters and you can see how those change. So say you really want to do something in silver tone or noir, which is another shade of black and white, or mono, which is black and white. You want to get what the metal was doing, not the colors. You know, doing something in black and white is very classy and helps shows the definition more than the color in it. I usually use gold. I tend to do on the warmer side. You can see there, or if it's silver, I will move over to a cool tone. Vivid is not really great for jewelry or a lot of art pieces. It's more good for like outside stuff, but you can use it, but you can tone it down because it automatically goes to 100 with vivid. You can bring that down and just like do a little color pop if you wanted to add on to the color pop you've already done. Same thing with warm. You're like, I want to warm it up, but I don't need it 100% warm. I'm just gonna do that. And then bring that there. And now I have that piece. I can go through. This one has, that one's a good example of showing a lot of shine on that picture. And we wanted that, but how do we make it look more clear? So that's when we're going to go back over to our definition, add definition, add that noise reduction, that sharpness, touch of warmth because it's gold, just a pop of vibrance, pop of saturation. All the rest actually look really good. We don't need to add any shadows. Add our little vignette. And now when you zoom in, those highlights are really nice versus like glaring. And they add to the photo and not detracting to it. So here we have a piece of pottery, and a lot of times you're just looking for what are the colors in that object. You hit edit. You can do an auto edit. It'll auto edit all the stuff. You can hit that button, go on your fancy way, but I like to go back through, check all the exposures, adjust everything, because sometimes it just uses its own AI, and as we know, AI is not perfect. So I think those shadows are too dark, but I don't want that brightness so high on the object. I'm going to pull that black point down. I want a little bit more color showing so you can see that the inside is red. We get a little bit of warmth because that's a warm tone. So we have browns and reds are warm tones against a green, which is not. So you want your eyes to focus on whatever it is. Don't worry about the green, go for the red. The tint. Just I always sharpen things just a hair, get that definition. And then again, with that little vignette, and then so you'll see here, there's a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an edge. So the eye goes that way versus if I tried to center it, it's like, oh, it's always best to be just a little off. Rule of thumb, thirds there. There's also one where you can hit it. I'm not sure if it does it on this camera or other phones, but it will give you the spiral and you can line it up on the spiral, which is really fun. This one was done with a blue tone, so you can see the difference between a red tone and the blue tone. I always take multiple pictures of the same thing. So you get different tones. I move backwards, move forwards, and then that gives you a chance to edit better. You can crop it. So we'll take that. And even if you're just doing quick, dirty edits, which is what I call like this, where I'm just cropping it. So it's pretty much good to go. I'm not adding any color, but I can't help myself. I'm just gonna hit the auto and then let it go. And you see the difference between that auto.
And most of this is just playing with it and developing your eye.
Exactly. And that's it. Just playing, opening your eye, hitting the different buttons. I won't flip this around for a little bit more lecture. Can you see?
Ooh, let's actually hang on.
A little
This
weird.
way. We will. It's a great angle, but I don't know that it's the one you're looking for. Not quite that bad. Here we go. Here we go. Here, long arms, nice and high, good angle. Perfect selfie. I've learned a lot. Learned a lot. Yeah. It's really just sitting down and taking some time with your art in your box. Take a gazillion photos of whatever it is that you are doing. Set it up in all these different ways. Play with it. Add extra stuff to it. Add your own hand in there and take all these pictures and then edit them. Press all the buttons. Change the contrast. Set it down. Come back 20 minutes later after you've had something to drink and then re-looking at the photos with fresh eyes, because then you go, oh, that saturation was way pushed, or that contrast was way pushed, and you'll start to learn what all these things mean.
And do you tend to save a copy and keep the original as the original?
You can do that, but the phone is more picky on that.
Okay.
So that's again why you have a gazillion photos, but it does have a revert button. You come back later on, it will revert it right back to that original photo that you took. That
Brilliant.
photo, which is great. You can also take it, make a copy of it, and just start editing that way. There's tons and tons and tons of free software that you can use to edit with. This is just the one that's free with your phone. There's tons that are like Photoshop. There's just all different ones that can add filters and different cropping and different light functions. Maybe you want something that's mirrored, so you have your object and then it's mirrored in post. There's ones that get rid of stuff, which is great in the background, because you took it, you did your lint roller, you took the tape over it, and yet there's a hair. So you can just put your finger on it and color where the hair was, and boom, the hair goes away.
I love the eraser settings for getting rid of modern stuff out of outdoor photos.
Yeah, I've done that a lot on outdoor photos, but even indoor stuff where I have something and I didn't see it when I was photographing it, and there was a button or there was a hair or there was a wrinkle, and it was just distracting, and you can just take it away. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, to use the free trial on a bunch of photographs. Get the photographs together, use the free trial, get a chance to use it. If you can afford it, get it. If not, find someone who has the software and go, hey, can we edit this batch of photos? Photoshop is great. Corel is great. There's lots of them out there, but there's even small apps on your phone that has all these things. They're really cheap, like anywhere from 99 cents to $10.99. And I have a ton of them on my phone and I've used them for different things. So you can even turn your work into cartoons, which is awesome. Editing in post. I often say, don't worry, we can edit in post. You can do a lot now. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me on my email at rew@westkingdom.com.
Thanks, Rew. It's been awesome.
Thank you.